Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, man, how big is the Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight? You know, you can see how big it is by the fact of how many people are talking about it, right? It was a fight, and you know, sometimes you got to mention this from time to time because people have this recency bias, right? And you know, they hope that you forget how they were rolling. But let's be real. Most people were acting like this fight shouldn't have happened. You know, and Terence Crawford doesn't have a chance. He's too small. And, you know, my answers to the fight happening is let's never forget Canelo had enough people in his own division. It's not like there was a lack of people for him to fight in his division. He just kept picking around the David Benavidez and the David Morrell fights, who people keep forgetting. They keep thinking they only avoided David Benavidez. David Benavidez and David Morrell were there. Great fighters who people would think were 50-50 fights in his division. So bad that these guys were both over 2 years as mandatory, and they couldn't get a fight, and the sanctioning bodies didn't make it happen. That wouldn't happen now with Turkish Alashi because it would put Canelo on blast. But that's what happened. They have to go up to a higher division, both not getting their legacy in 168 pounds, have to go up to 175 pounds and fight each other before having legacy, because one of them would have been undisputed already at 168 pounds before going up to 178 to 175 pounds to further their legacy. But because of Canelo and the boxing politics and the illegal things that should be illegal happen, that didn't happen. So we're having the Terence Crawford fight because he picks around those, and there's no more fights for him to have. That's people of, that he has left really up there. So the Canelo fight the Terence Crawford fight had to happen because of those circumstances. And people were, I told you, they were low-key afraid of him to fight Terence Crawford because if he loses Terence Crawford, it's going to be a travesty. There's nothing you can say, right? Now, it's a huge fight because everybody, celebrities and stuff like that, are talking about the fight. You know what I mean? And everywhere you go, they're talking about this fight. Everybody's going to be there. It's a high-profile fight, and I'm glad for Terence Crawford because Canelo's been in high-profile fights, but Terence Crawford hasn't been in extremely high-profile fights, of the magnitude of Errol Spence. I would think Sean Porter should have been a high-profile fight. But, this is a huge fight, and I just think it's awesome that he's a part of it, right? Now, as of who's going to win, we all don't know that. We're all speculating, but, when you hear about the most people thinking that a Terence Crawford can beat a Canelo Alvarez, I just think that's, phenomenal, and I'll keep saying that. Now, let's go back to somebody else who says that Terence Crawford is going to win, and that'll be former heavyweight champion, one of that was involved in the biggest upset probably in boxing history. When you start talking about upsets, here's what come. It is definitely top 5 biggest upsets in boxing history, and you would know him as Buster Douglas, the infamous Buster Douglas fight in Japan. Buster Douglas has said he not only would like Terence Crawford to win, but he thinks Terence Crawford's going to win the fight. Right? And, I only talk about people basically that are in the boxing, that have boxed themselves. These people, those are the ones who I'm talking about. Like I say, I don't, people in the internet or whatever, I've just watched one guy talking about the experience of Terence Crawford. It's not that of Canelo Alvarez. And a lot of times, when I just see people talk about who Canelo stood in the ring with, right? Who he stood in the ring with. That doesn't, it still counts. It probably counts in experience, but Canelo gets props for standing in the ring for people, and got beat up. So he gets props for that. But, the experience is one thing. Canelo got my man on experience, but Canelo's experience is also, I can do a little bit and get props for it. Because Canelo didn't get, backlash for how he looked against William Skull. Like I said, William Skull did pretty good against Canelo. Canelo got wins and scorecards. He got a draw. Somebody called it a draw with Floyd Mayweather. He lost every damn round. So he's experienced that. He's experienced getting a win against Lara. He's experienced open scoring in San Antonio with Austin Trout. So he's experienced a lot of things. He's experienced not having to fight his mandatory in Jamal Charlo and getting a franchise title. He's experienced that. He's experienced being doping and no one really does anything about it and just says, hey, let's raise the clenbuterol levels. So that's also inexperience, right? So, at the end of the day, we're going to go back and forth on it, but Buster Douglas is the latest of someone who says that Canelo Alvarez is going to lose to Terence Crawford. And I think that's why it's going to get more and more ridiculous as we get closer to the fight. Remember, now, because I want to be, the first thing I'm going to do is also say that I was one that says Canelo might not show up for the fight. That was before I knew he was going to get about 100 to 150 million. I probably wouldn't have said it then. But my point is, if he would have got anything less than 30 million or 30 million or something like that, he wouldn't have showed up. He wouldn't have showed up to the fight. But for 150 million, I think he is going to show up, but I'm going to be wrong. I'm still going to do a I'm wrong video, right? But at the end of the day, the more close the fight comes, the more nervous people are going to get and the more outlandish they're going to be saying things. Watch what I tell you. But at the end of the day, it's another guy that's in boxing saying that Canelo is going to lose this fight. Somebody in boxing, Guy Brazado, but I already mentioned him. Guy Brazado says Terence Crawford's going to lose. Abel Sanchez says Terence Crawford's going to lose. And Joel Diaz, trainers, those two trainers says Terence Crawford's going to lose because Canelo is just, he's not going to be able to hurt Canelo and keep him off of him. So those three are somebody that I can remember that says he's going to lose. Other than that, it's really hard to find. You got to come with some names that are in boxing or box themselves or trainers or promoters or something of the like. Anyway, like I said, your boy Buster Douglas is the latest. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm out of here, y'all. You know what time it is.